This call is now being recorded.
Good evening to all present here. I am happy and more privileged to welcome you all to the second day of our UGC-NET coaching conducted by Department of Home Science, Interior Design and Decor, Sri Kanaka Parameshwari Arts and Science College for Women, Chennai 1. At this juncture, I welcome our resource person, Dr. Shayestha ma'am. Welcome ma'am. Good evening ma'am.
Can you hear me? Good
Yeah,
evening.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, ma'am.
uh,
Welcome.
Yes.
let us start our prayer, our program with a prayer. Thank you, everyone. I am handing over the session to our HOD, Head of the Department, Dr. V. Meena, Department of Home Science, Interior Design and Decor, Sri Kanaka Parameshwari College, Chennai. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Aisha. Good evening to one and all present here. On behalf of the Department of Home Science, Interior Design and Decor, I extend a warm welcome to one and all for this second day orientation program on UGC-NET Home Science exam. So it's a great pleasure to welcome today's resource person, Dr. Shayestha ma'am, Associate Professor, Department of PG Studies and Research in Home Science, JBAS College for Women. And I also welcome Honorary Correspondent Sir, Principal, Dean, Vice Principal Ma'am, and IQAC Coordinator, dear colleagues, faculties of other colleges, and my dear UGC aspirants. So we shall be learning about textiles today. Thank you for accepting to be a resource person, ma'am. On a positive note, I am delighted to share with you that our participants come from a diverse range of colleges and universities, including University Department of Home Science, Lalit Narayan Mithila University, Government College for Women, Guntur, and Manipur University, Bhopal Noble University, A.M. Jain College, Avinash Lingam University, Mahalakshmi Women's College, University Department of Home Science, LNMU, Darbhanga, Bihar, and Kamban College of Arts and Science College for Women, Thiruvannamalai, and GSS Jain College, and JNRM Port Blair, Osmania Degree College for Women, Kurnool, and all other passed out batch of our own college and present batch of our SKPC College, and also Lady Irwin College. So happy to welcome you all here. I would like to introduce Dr. Shayestha Ma'am is an associate professor working in the Department of PG Studies and Research in Home Science, JBS College for Women. She has vast experience of about 24 years of PG teaching, 22 years of UG teaching, and an extensive research experience. She obtained her PhD degree in home science, specializing in textiles and clothing in April 2022 from the University of Madras. She has successfully guided 15 MPhil theses and more than 90 MSc theses as a research supervisor. She has published research journals in 12 publications in national and international journals. She has been a coordinator of various committees in JBS College. She has judged many events, fashion shows, art and design competitions during her tenure. She is the faculty coordinator of the department journal and department newsletter in Home Science. She is a member of the Board of Studies of Home Science for the University of Madras. That is the first place I met her, ma'am, there, and she gave a lot of inputs in the curriculum framing of textiles.
Yes.
She
Thank
is a member of Board of Studies in Home Science Department in University of Madras and WCC College, and has been the member in universities, various other universities. She nominated as a subject expert to scrutinize the syllabus of UG and PG Home Science for Tamil Nadu State Council for Higher Education. She has been on the panel of subject experts for academic audits and career advancement scheme in Stella Maris College. She is also on the examination board of many institutions as an examiner. She has been the resource person for national webinars and also for induction programs of the college, and a member secretary of the academic council in JBAS college, and has held many such credible posts in college during her tenure. And she is the doctoral committee of PhD ward in the Department of Fashion and Design, Hindustan University, Padur. She has been awarded for distinguished service for the upliftment of society by the Tamil Nadu Guidance Council on International Women's Day 2021. So glad to welcome you and happy to accepting our invitation, ma'am. Really, we should thank you
You're
because you.
welcome, Meena.
Yes, ma'am. Because your in-depth concern about this program and covering all the textile syllabus. Thank you. Thanks a lot, ma'am.
You're most welcome, Meena.
Yes.
Thank you all. Thank you, Meena, for that impressive introduction of mine.
Yes.
And I'm very thankful for this opportunity, because this is my passion. Sharing of knowledge is my passion. And I believe as an academician, that should be the passion for everyone. Thank you. Thank you for this esteemed, opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. You can share your screen there, ma'am.
Pardon?
You can share your screen in that place, ma'am.
Yes, yes, I will do that.
Yes.
I will do that. It also. Can you see the screen?
Yes, ma'am. We
Yeah.
can able to see.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Actually, the allotted syllabus is divided into two portions. One is the textiles part, and the other is on apparel designing. But I'm sorry for the lack of time. I think I won't be able to cover even apparel designing and textiles. I'll try my level best to complete most of the textiles unit. Okay. So coming to the first part of it, where it is textile terminologies. So what is a fiber? A fiber is a basic unit. No, you just show me that slide share. That's enough. That's it. Yes, this one. Go to the next slide. Yes, yes. So, what is a textile fiber? A textile fiber happens to be the smallest unit of textile production. Okay, so it can either be natural or it can be synthetic. And from the fiber stage, it is converted into yarns and then subsequently into fabric by these are the major methods of construction, which is also there in the syllabus by weaving, knitting, and by also by non wovens. Are you able to hear me as well?
Yes, ma'am, I can able to hear.
Yes, yes. Okay, so one speciality of fiber is, if you just take you if you just say that fiber happens to be the smallest unit of textile production, there should be some criteria or category. Okay, the criteria is it should be very very thin than it is longer. It should at least be 100 times thinner. I mean, it should be 100 times, or even it can even go to 1,000 times. It should be longer than its width. Okay, so that happens to be the criteria for any particular matter to perform as a textile fiber. So this will also be covered in the primary properties, wherein I will talk about the length to width ratio, right? So I hope you all are able to follow, all the students. This is the very basic information that any student of textile should know. The very first unit happens to be fiber, which is then converted into a yarn, and then the yarn is converted into a fabric. How is it that the fiber is converted into yarn? Fiber is converted into yarn by a process which is called as spinning. Okay, and yarn is converted into fabric by a process by major methods of construction. Fabric construction are there, wherein major methods happen to be weaving and knitting. You also have other minor methods like non-wovens and braiding and crocheting and things like that. Okay, let us go to the next slide. Okay. So coming before going on to the primary properties of textile fibers, because I also mentioned about yarns, I also want to tell you what a yarn is. Okay, because that happens to be one of the textile terminology which is given in the syllabus. Yarn is a continuous strand of fibers. Okay, a cluster of fibers which is usually held together by twisting. There can be two methods of twisting. One is called as the S twist and the other is called as the Z twist. Actually, if I happen to go on elaborately taking, it might consume a lot of time. That's the reason why I'm just talking about small fragments, or only the textile terminologies alone, right? So coming to properties of textile fibers, you have the primary properties and the secondary properties. As the name suggests itself, we can say that primary properties means these are the properties which every textile fiber must possess in order to perform as a textile fiber. Textile fiber or yarn or fabric, whatever are the intended use of textiles. We all know that textiles are used for clothing. Everyone knows that textile is used for clothing. Okay, but apart from that, textiles is also has many other applications, like because you people being the department of interior design and decor, you can very well realize that you cannot decorate your homes without fabric, without textiles. Okay, so you have application of textiles not only in clothing but also in interior, but also in the construction. And if you go on to further applications like technical textiles, wherein textiles are used in aeroplanes, in the manufacture of aeroplanes, the manufacture of rockets. And you have one particular sector itself where you have something which is called as medical textiles. Okay, wherein textiles are used as sutures, textiles are used as ligaments, textiles are used as prosthetics and things like that. Okay, so primary properties means what are the properties that a particular substance or matter must possess in order to perform as a textile. The application can be anything, whatever is the intended use. Okay, so we will go on to what are the primary properties. So, as I told you, primary properties are essential properties which a particular fiber must possess in order to perform as a textile fiber. You can also call them as mandatory properties. You can call them as prerequisites. Okay, whatever you name them. The next slide. So, these are the 5 primary properties. One happens to be the length and width ratio. The second one is the tenacity. The third one, cohesiveness or spinning quality. The fourth one, flexibility. And the fifth one happens to be uniformity. This is what I was talking about when I was discussing about the fiber. Fiber is the smallest unit which is used, which is the smallest unit in textile production. Okay, the one essential property that fiber must possess is it should sufficiently be long than its width. Okay, whatever is its thickness or thinness, whatever you call, the length should be sufficiently more. We will talk about how much the length should be more. That is why we are discussing about the ratio, length to width ratio. Let us go on to the length to width ratio. Okay, length to width ratio is the ratio between the length and breadth of a textile fiber. Width means breadth. Okay, the textile fiber should be sufficiently long than its width. The minimum ratio happens to be 1:100. Okay, this means that the measure of the length should be at least 100 times more than the measure of its width. This is just the minimum ratio. It can become, the ratio can be 1:1000, the ratio can be 1:10,000, and so on. Okay, this is the minimum ratio. Next, Shaza, the next slide. So can you see length to width ratio of some of the textile fibers? It varies. As I told you, the ratio, that's the minimum ratio, 1:100. It can be 1:1000, 1:10,000. So accordingly, each textile fiber, this is the length. Length to width ratio of cotton, 1400, of wool, 8000, flax, 170, silk, 3,30,000. Okay, so based on this, you can also say that textile fibers are classified as staple fibers and filament fibers. Okay, that is not given here in the slide, but I still okay, it is not given in the slide, but still I want to share this information because most of the questions I have noticed when I went through the question paper, they are asking about staple fibers. Okay, so fibers itself can be divided as staple fibers and filament fibers. Staple fibers happen to be the shorter fibers, filament fibers happen to be the longer fibers. Staple fibers are usually measured in centimeters or inches. Okay, example can be like cotton. Mostly all natural fibers will be staple fibers, like cotton, jute, flax. All these will be staple fibers. They can be measured in inches or centimeters. Coming to filament fibers, mostly synthetic fibers will be filament fibers, because when I say synthetic fibers, it means that they are manufactured fibers. So when you're manufacturing them, you can make them as long or short as possible. Okay, so except for silk happens to be the only naturally available filament fiber. This is an important information which you students should note. Those who have done textiles, I think, will already know this information, but this is an information which has to be kept in mind. Okay, silk is the only naturally available filament fiber. Filament fibers are longer fibers which are measured in kilometers and miles. Okay, this is an important information. Then coming to the next primary property, which happens to be tenacity. Girls, please tell me if I'm too fast. I'm trying to pace up so that I'm able to cover the maximum information as possible. I also want to do 2-3 question papers also, UGC question papers. Are you able to follow me?
Yes, ma'am, we are able to follow you.
This is the drawback, of having an online teaching mode. We are used to the one-to-one teaching mode where we can see the students and we can understand whether they are understanding us or not. Okay, so that I'm missing. So please, now and then when I ask you to interact, please interact. Okay, right? Coming to tenacity,
Ma'am.
tenacity refers to the strength of the fiber. Are you okay with my pace, girls?
Yes, we are able
Yes.
to follow
Are
you,
you able
ma'am.
to understand? Yes. Anytime you feel you're not understanding anything, please stop me. Okay.
Sure, ma'am.
Tenacity refers to the strength of the fiber. A fiber should have adequate strength so as to undergo the stress and strain encountered during yarn manufacturing process. One thing I want to tell you at this stage is during the process of weaving, I told you, fiber gets converted into a yarn. And how is it that they get converted into a yarn? Fiber, most all the fibers are tried to be aligned as straight as possible, and they are intertwined. They are twisted to make into a yarn. I told you yarn is a continuous strand of fibers. And from yarn, it is converted into fabric. How is it that it is converted into fabric? Mostly by a process called as weaving. So during all this process, the fiber or the yarn or the fabric has to encounter a lot of stress and strain as they go through these machineries. Okay, so they should be able to withstand the stress and strain of these yarn manufacturing processes. That is why they should have adequate strength or tenacity. Okay, so every textile fiber possesses varying levels of strength. Some possess higher strength, some possess lower. Also, the strength of textile fibers varies from the dry state and the wet state. This one more important information I want to tell you at this stage. We all, I think, basic information, we will all know that cotton is a very strong fiber. Okay, cotton is a strong fiber. How is it that we can assess? I want to tell 2 3 points which are not exactly linked to this topic, but they are linked to other topics. This will help you in answering some of the questions, especially in UGC, wherein they check the logical reasoning. You will be able to understand things better if I tell you this particular point. Like for example, cotton happens to be, we perceive, yes, what our perception is right, that cotton is a strong textile fiber. But when it becomes wet, it becomes all the more stronger. Okay, that is one of the reason why when we wash cotton clothes, we wash them, there's no special care which is taken for cotton clothes like other clothes. Like for example, silk and all, you take care a lot, but in the case of cotton, it is not like that. Okay, because they become stronger when they are wet. So even when you go through the process of wringing and twisting, still then the cotton is strong, right? Likewise, there are other textile fibers like synthetic fibers and all, which become either weak or stronger because of their dry and wet state. Okay, then coming to, this is the tenacity of some of the common fibers. You need not remember the tenacity, but the reason why I chose to put this slide is because questions in UGC are asked like this, grade, list out, or arrange according to the ascending order. If a question comes on, what is the strength of common fibers, you can refer to this slide. What all material I have, I'll definitely post it, send it to Meena, so that you get the the study material also. So cotton happens to be, this is what the unit of strength, grams per denier. It is the strongest, as you can see from the values, 3 to 4.9, jute 3 to 5.8, flax so on, so and so on, and wool happens to be the lowest. Okay, 1.1 to 1.7. The next slide. Coming to the next property, which happens to be the spinning quality or cohesiveness. One more information quickly I want to tell you. Just because the word or is used there, spinning quality and cohesiveness are not synonymous to each other. When I say not synonymous, it means they do not mean the same. Spinning quality means something different, cohesiveness means something different. The reason, I'll tell you why or is given there. Okay, spinning quality or cohesiveness is the ability of the fibers to stick together during yarn manufacturing process. In this, spinning quality refers to the filament fibers, Cohesiveness refers to the staple fibers. I already told you fibers are two types, divided into two: staple fibers, which are shorter fibers, and filament fibers, which are longer fibers. Okay. So, spinning quality refers to filament fibers because when you get filament fibers naturally, like for example, silk, when you obtain it itself, it is long, right? So what do you do with the longer fibers? You intertwine them, because if you take a single strand of silk, it will not have enough of strength. Okay, so you will take 6 to 7 strands of silk fiber, which will already be long. You take them and you intertwine and you make that into a yarn. Okay, so that means you spin the fibers into a long yarn. That's the reason why spinning quality refers to filament fibers. In the case of silk, how is it that they stick to each other? In the silk has one gum, which is called as sericin. This is the protein which is present in silk, right? It is a gummy substance, sericin. This holds the filaments together. Okay. And cohesiveness applies to staple fibers. This cohesiveness is exemplified. I don't know if I have it in the next slide. Yes. See here, staple fibers are shorter fibers which are measured in centimeters and inches. As I already told you, examples cotton and jute is given there. Filament fibers are longer fibers which are measured in kilometers or miles. Example is silk. Okay. Then see here. How do staple fibers show cohesiveness? When I say exemplify, that means they show cohesiveness or stickiness in various ways. Okay. Example, cotton fibers exhibits its cohesiveness by its cross-sectional structure. When you see the cross-sectional structure of cotton, you will see that it is kidney shaped. The longitudinal structure happens to be a flat ribbon-like structure. The cross-sectional structure happens to be a kidney-shaped structure. Because of the kidney-shaped structure, one kidney shape intermingling with the other, because of that, those indentations, it is able to stick together. So what are those indentations called? Those indentations are called as convolutions. So if you go through the notes that I'm giving, if you find these terms, please underline the terms and get to know what the term is. Even if I'm not able to substantially explain to you because of the lack of time, you can always check through Google or notes and find out what that particular terminology is. Okay, maximum I've tried to include terminologies in my presentation, right? Because of its convolutions, which are the indentations in the structure of the cotton fiber. Because of that, it has stickiness. The kidney shaped structure of a cotton fiber enables it to adhere or fit together into another fiber, thus sticking together during yarn manufacturing. Can you see all the kidney shape? They are trying to be put into each other. Okay, probably if I must have had a board, I must have drawn the diagram, but it's okay. Okay, so even in the longitudinal structure, you can see the convolutions. That's in the case of cotton. Coming in the case of wool, how does wool exemplify its cohesiveness? Quickly, I will go through. The longitudinal structure of wool fiber has serrated edges resembling a pine tree. So if you see over here, can you see? Can you see the serrated edges resembling a pine tree? Because of these serrated edges, once again, they entangle into each other. With the help of these serrations, one fiber entangles into the other, thus sticking together during yarn manufacturing process. That's about cohesiveness. Spinning quality, I told you. I'll just read it. In the case of filament fibers, because of their long length, they are spun into yarns by twisting or winding two or more filaments together. Example, silk fibers are very long. The long length enables the twisting and spinning of these fibers. Clear? Yes. See here, this is the cross-sectional shape of silk. See, the reason why I've accommodated the images also, you might get questions on the cross-sectional structure on the longitudinal view. Okay, that's the reason why I've incorporated the images also. Silk fiber has sericin. One important thing, as I told you, sericin is the protein. It's a gummy-like substance which is there in silk. A point to be highlighted or underlined, right? Which aids in holding the fibers together during the spinning of these fibers, right? Then coming to the fourth primary property, quickly, flexibility. Flexibility is the ability of the fiber to bend without breaking. So you should be able to bend it, but it should not break. Okay. That is called as flexibility during yarn manufacturing or during the regular wear and tear. Textile fibers must be pliable, only then they can be spun with other fibers. So what does it mean by pliability? Pliability means they should bend but they should not break, right? Many substances in nature resemble fibrous forms but cannot be practical textile fibers because they are stiff and brittle. So what happens, other matter, that is that which is not a textile, other things which are there in matter, they happen to have all the four primary properties. That is the length to width ratio, they'll be long, they'll have strength, and they'll be uniform. Only thing is they will not have flexibility. Because of that, they'll be stiff. Because of that, they might not be able to perform as a textile fiber or come under the classification of textile fibers. Coming to the last primary property, which happens to be uniformity. To make a good quality yarn, every textile fiber must have uniformity in their properties, right? Synthetic fibers, this is an important information. Synthetic fibers are far more uniform than natural fibers. Why? Because they are manufactured. Okay, so uniformity is inherently difficult to achieve in natural fibers. This we all know. Anything that is natural, very difficult for it to be uniform in everything. We human beings, you can see how we differ, right? We have the same eyes, nose, mouth, hands, legs, but still we differ. Likewise, even if you see, if you take a plant, a mangrove, like for example, okay, you take a mangrove, the mangoes get the same amount of sunlight, get the same amount of rain in a field, okay, get the same amount of fertilizer, but still you have a same quality mango, probably it's an alfonso, but still they will be different in shape. They will not be uniform. You cannot exactly say that they'll be about 20 centimeter in length and 10 centimeter in width. They will all vary, right, in dimension. So natural fibers are inherently difficult to be uniform. These natural fibers, thus this is the reason why natural fibers are blended to achieve uniformity. This point to be noted in yarn manufacturing process. If you take the manufacturing of cotton into consideration, then you will collect all the fibers and you will blend them to form it into a yarn. Okay, then coming to secondary properties, what are secondary properties? These are desired properties. I told you primary are essential, secondary are desired properties which a particular textile fiber must possess, right? Textile fibers might possess few of the properties and some of them they might not possess all the secondary properties. It's not necessary they should possess all the secondary properties. Okay, secondary properties increase only the value according to the intended use. Secondary properties happens to be these: physical shape, luster, specific gravity, elongation, elastic recovery, moisture regain and moisture content, resiliency and thermal behavior. Quickly coming to physical shape, as I told you, it comprises both of the longitudinal and the cross sectional structure. If, for example, we saw cotton, how it we saw both the structure. Okay, each textile fiber has its own physical shape. Natural fibers have surface irregularities, so accordingly, they will be ununiform. But then synthetic fibers, if you take the physical shape of the synthetic fiber, it depends on the shape of the spinneret. If you don't know what a spinneret is, this is the opening through which the synthetic fibers are pulled out. Okay, the manufacture of synthetic fibers actually were aped from the manufacture of silk. How is it that a silkworm gives out the silk threads? Okay, it gives out from its spinneret or its mouth, right? So whatever is the shape of the spinneret, that is the shape of the liquid that comes out. Okay, synthetic fibers also, when you extrude the filament, it is in the form of a liquid. So whatever is the shape of the filament that you want, you should keep the shape of the opening also the same way. If I have to give you an example, something like your murku mold. Okay, you have these murku molds, right? You have different types of murkus. What are they? This mullu murk, right? So when you put it through the mold, whatever is the shape of the mold, that is the shape of the murku coming out. The same way is the case of the synthetic fibers. Whatever is the shape of the spinneret, that will be the shape of the synthetic fiber coming out. That way you're able to control the shape. Okay, I might be giving weird examples, but these weird examples will stay in your mind. That's the reason why. Okay, this is a cross-sectional longitudinal view of a cotton fiber, of wool, of synthetic fiber. You just can go through the diagram. Then coming quickly to the secondary property, which happens to be luster. As the term itself suggests, it means that it is a shine. Okay, textile fibers can be shiny, can be dull. Some are natural fibers, mostly they are dull. except for silk. Silk is very shiny. Cotton and flax and all that, they are very dull. Synthetic fibers, it's not like that. One synthetic fiber, viscose rayon, is very, very shiny. That's the reason why viscose rayon is called as artificial silk. Please note down this point. Okay. Viscose rayon is also called as artificial silk, and it is also called as artificial regenerated cellulosic fiber. The reason being, why it is called as artificial regenerated cellulosic fiber is because synthetic fiber, the viscose rayon being synthetic, but the raw material happens to be natural. It is manufactured from wood pulp. Okay, that's why it's called as regenerated cellulosic fiber. Two terms associated with viscose rayon. It is called as artificial silk because of a shiny structure. It's also called as regenerated cellulosic fiber because though it is synthetic, it is manufactured from natural products, which is wood pulp. Okay, so sometimes when you are making synthetic fibers, when you do not require the shine, what you do is you add something which is called as a delusterant. As the name suggests, delusterant means to reduce the luster. Okay, one of the example happens to be titanium dioxide is a delusterant. You can also make note of this information. This is how any particular substance is shiny. Something which has a smooth surface, the light falls on the surface and it reflects back. That's the reason why it is shiny. Something which has, the silk has a smooth surface, that's the reason why it is shiny. Something which has a rough surface, okay, like for example cotton, it has indentations, that's the reason why it's dull. When the light falls on it, the light does not reflect back but it breaks, that is why it's dull. So I've also given you explanation. Then coming to the third secondary property, which is called as specific gravity. Specific gravity refers to the density of fabric, means the weight. Okay, denser fabrics have more specific gravity than lighter fabrics. Very important information. Any fabric which is dense or heavy will have a more specific gravity than a lighter fabric. Like for example, we know that cotton is heavy. Cotton has a specific gravity of 1.54, which is heavier than silk. Silk, the specific gravity is 1.25. This is some of the common specific gravities which you can just see. Okay, then coming to elongation, which is the fourth or the fifth secondary property. Elongation, the ability of a textile fiber to stretch when subjected to a force. Okay, not just like that, but when subjected to a force, it stretches. That is what is called as elongation. This stretching is called as elongation or extension. It can be expressed as a percentage. Then coming to elastic recovery, you can ask me what is the difference. This is also elastic, that is also elastic. I'll tell you what it is. Elongation, when you stretch it. Elastic recovery is the ability of textile fiber to return to its original length after being elongated. Okay, so if a fiber returns to its original length from a specified amount of elongation, it means it has 100% elastic recovery. For example, if it happens to be 20 centimeter in length, I pull it and again it comes back to 20 centimeter in length, it means that it has 100% elastic recovery. Okay, then coming to the next secondary property, which is moisture regain and moisture content. Textile fibers generally have some amount of moisture or water content in them. We all know anything, not only textile fiber, everything, most of the matter, they all have some amount of moisture, right? So fibers with good moisture regain and moisture content will accept. Why is it that moisture regain and moisture content is important for textiles? Is because it's something which has good moisture regain and moisture content will accept dyes and chemicals more readily than fibers with low moisture regain and low moisture content. Okay, so we all know that textiles are colored, dyes are applied. So if you want more absorption of dyes, they should have more moisture regain and they should be able to hold more of moisture content. Okay, not only dyes but also other chemicals. Why is it chemicals? Because chemicals are used for various textile finishes, right? You also happen to have that as one of the unit. So moisture content also has a relation with fiber strength. I told you in the case of cotton, it has more strength when it is wet. Okay, so that means cotton is able to even absorb more moisture, retain the moisture, and also has more strength. So you can understand how various parameters are interlinked. Okay, coming to the next secondary property, which happens to be resiliency. Resiliency of a textile fiber is the ability to return back to its original shape after being crushed, compressed, or deformed. This is the difference between elastic recovery and resiliency. In the case of elastic recovery, only stretching it, But in the case of resiliency, you are crumpling it, you are changing its shape. Okay, something like compressing or crumpling. Like for example, if you take this fabric, if you crumple it and again it comes back to its original shape, that means it has good resiliency. Resiliency plays an important role in the crease recovery of a fabric. One of the fiber which has a good resiliency, this is an important point to be noted. Wool fiber has excellent resiliency. Why is it that it has good resiliency? Because wool fiber has crimp in it. What is crimp? Crimp is the waviness in the fiber. Okay, because of the waviness, when you pull it, it stretches, right? So that means it has good resiliency. The inherent crimp in the wool fiber acts like a coiled spring. We all know when you pull a spring, again it comes back, okay, bounces back to its original shape after the stress is relieved. Likewise, in the case of wool, that is how wool is resilient, because of its crimp. Then coming to the last secondary property, which happens to be thermal behavior. Thermal behavior is the reaction of textile fibers to heat. How is it that textile fibers respond to heat? Textile fibers should withstand temperatures used in processing. We all know that. I told you, in the process of weaving, okay, during the process of weaving itself, a particular amount of heat is generated, right? So the fabric as it is manufactured becomes little bit warm, so it should be able to withstand that heat. Not only that heat, but further finishing, like you have thermosetting finishes, like if you give, for example, wrinkle free finishes, and example, many more examples are there. If you give these kind of heat setting finishes, it should have the ability to withstand heat, right? So flammability is an important aspect of thermal behavior of textile fibers. What is flammability? It is the ability of textile fibers to burn. Different fibers burn differently, right? There is something which are called as flame characteristics of textile fibers. That also happens to come under the properties, wherein you can say that cotton burns differently, synthetic fiber burns differently. One important point I want to tell you before I close on this slide alone, I mean this slide, PPT presentation, wherein cotton burns very quickly. Okay, how is it that cotton responds to heat? Cotton burns very quickly, but we are advised not to wear to wear cotton in kitchen, isn't it? Where they say don't wear synthetic, but wear a cotton dupatta in kitchen. When cotton can catch fire very quickly, why is it that we are asked to wear cotton dupattas or cotton clothing in kitchen? I want to ask you a question to the audience, but I think I'm running short of time. I'll give you the explanation also. What happens is the cotton catches fire quickly, but when it burns, it does not stick to the skin. Okay, it gets converted into ash, which does not stick to the skin. That's the reason why cotton is little bit safer when compared to all other garments in the kitchen, right? Whereas synthetic fibers, they catch fire slowly, but when they catch, they stick to the skin. So God forbid, if any burn happens, in the case of cotton, it is a first degree burn where you nothing, only the superficial skin gets burnt. In the case of synthetic fiber, it's not like that. It might be a secondary degree or third degree burn, because the fiber or the fabric sticks to the skin and the heat is retained. Okay, those are the primary and the secondary properties. We'll quickly go on to the next presentation. With this, I think I finished. Where is it? One part of the. Okay. Yes, the terminologies. Then coming to identification of fibers and weaves. This identification of fibers and weaves mostly I covered through the images. Okay, you can identify fibers and weaves through the microscope by seeing the longitudinal and the cross sectional view of textile fibers. Okay, not only that, one more thing is burning characteristics. You can also identify textile fibers by burning. That's the reason why I told you what is the thermal behavior of textile fibers. Example, cotton. I told you how it burns. Okay, so when you see the flame characteristics, you can assess it through 5 different categories. How it responds to, how it initially approaches the flame, what happens when it approaches the flame. I'll try to give the notes for this. Okay, and how it burns. After it burns, what happens, what is the residue that it gives, and what kind of smell it leaves. Accordingly, you can identify the different textile fibers, and you can also identify textile fibers and fabrics through chemicals also. Okay, if it happens to be a blend, if it happens to be a blend of cotton and polyester, how is it that you will identify that it's made up of cotton and polyester? You can do some chemical tests and you can find out, right? Then coming to the next, manufacturing process of major natural and man-made properties. Not this slide, Shaza. uh, Cotton, manufacturing process of cotton. Go there. Yes, yes. What happened? Yes. Before I show you the notes, I'll talk a little bit about the manufacturing process of natural and man-made fibers. So if you take natural fibers, the first example that comes to our mind happens to be cotton. Okay. How is it that cotton is cultivated? Right. And what happens, how is it that you're manufacturing cotton fibers? Generally, when you talk about cotton fibers, you can generally say manufacture of staple fibers. Okay, how does the manufacturing of staple fibers happen? One example happens to be cotton. So specifically, I'll quickly go through about cotton. The other things you should definitely look into each, because I have realized after going through the question papers of UGC, mostly they're asking what are the different stages of production. Okay, so individually I have no time to cover cotton, flax, jute, hemp separately, and then coming to synthetic, rayon, nylon, acrylic. I have no time for that. You have to go through the stages. Quickly, I'll try to tell you the manufacturing process of cotton. Quickly, just a quick brush, because I want to go to the next unit as well. Yes, manufacturing process. So cotton. No, I just want the titles. I don't want this detailed. We had listed out, no, the stages. Go down. Go down. All this I've done. Want to go to the manufacturer? No. These are the properties. Manufacture of cotton we had, no? Ah, yes. Show, show me. See here. Uh, give me that first one. Yes. Ah, what are you doing for this? They can see. Can you see manufacturing of cotton on your screen?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes. Okay. So see quickly, manufacture of cotton, growing and harvesting. Okay, how do you harvest cotton? We all know that. I think I must have done classification of textile fibers. I should do that and then go on to this. Yes, classification of textile fibers. Please give me a minute. Keep that open. I'll go on to the classification of textile fibers. Yes. See here quickly. Uh, Before this, if they can be classified by source. Where is that? No, here itself. Yeah, they can be classified by source. Wait. Mm, yes, broadly classified. That's true. Mm. This information I already have. Yes. Okay. So textile fibers can be broadly classified into natural and synthetic fibers. This mostly I think you must have already seen. Okay, this type of classification you must have studied, but quickly I want to go through. So if you come to natural itself, according to the source, is classified into vegetable fibers, mineral fibers, and animal fibers. Okay, so when you come to vegetable fibers, it means all those fibers which are extracted from the plant. Okay, so from various parts of the plant, what are the textile fibers that you uh, obtain, right? So when I say bast means the stem. From the stem of the plant, what are the things that you obtain? You obtain flax, which is also called as hemp. Examples, also jute and rami. Okay, so if you take from the leaf, if you take a particular plant, from the leaf of a plant, what are the textile fibers that you obtain? Examples are hemp, abaca, sizzle, also pineapple. Questions are asked on pineapple. Okay, pineapple as a textile fiber is called as pinna. Please note this point, PINA. Okay, it is extracted from the leaf part of the plant, right? Then coming to the seed or the fruit, under that you have example cotton. Cotton happens to be a seed hair. Okay, on the seed, the hair that grows, it is that which matures and become the cotton fibers. Okay, examples are cotton, kapok, and what is this, coir. Okay, coir happens to be the husk. Questions are specifically asked on this, so please make a note of all these things. Then also animal fibers. Under animal fibers, you have animal hair fibers. Okay, and also you have animal secretion fibers. Under animal secretion fibers, example happens to be silk. Okay, because it is a secretion which is given by a silkworm. In the case of silkworm, if you take the zoological name, it happens to be Bombyx mori. Bombyx mori. Okay. If you take seed hair fibers, animal hair fibers, examples are wool, angora, mohair, and camel. Wool, we all know it is taken from sheep. Okay. Then coming to man-made fibers. No, before going on to that, I've discussed vegetable, animal. Under natural, you also have mineral fibers. Mineral fiber, the only naturally available mineral fiber happens to be asbestos. Please note this down. It happens to be asbestos. And filament fibers, I told you, naturally available filament fiber happens to be silk. All these are important informations. Okay. Then coming to man-made fibers, under man-made fibers, you have those which are natural polymers and those which are synthetic polymers. Under natural polymers, those which are cellulosic, you have viscose rayon, and you also have acetate, various forms of acetate. Okay, I told you viscose rayon is called as a regenerated cellulosic fiber because though it's a synthetic fiber, the raw material happens to be natural. Then coming to the synthetic polymer, these are totally manufactured from synthetics. Examples are polyesters, polyolefins, polyamides. Under polyamides only you have nylon, polyvinyls, and polyurethanes, right? So can you increase the size? Are you able to see this classification? Can you just zoom that, Shaza?
Yes, ma'am.
You're able to see the classification? Yes, you can. When I give you the notes, you can make a note of that. So this is a classification of textile fibers. With this in mind, I'm going to the manufacture of cotton. Please go to the manufacture of cotton. Right? So growing and harvesting, you can see cotton grows on bushes. So once, I do not want to read the entire thing, right? Right? Cotton grows on bushes, 3 to 4 feet height. The blossoms, the flowers appear and they fall off. And then what happens? The ball, it begins to increase inside. Inside the ball, you have the seeds. Okay. From the seed, you have the seed hair. When it becomes mature, the cotton just bursts open and the cotton is exposed. Why? What happened? Okay. This is called as the seed hair. So when the ball is ripe, it splits open and the fluffy white cotton stands out from the ball. This is how it is growing and harvesting. Then you have the next process, which is called as ginning. So what is actually ginning? Ginning is the process of removing all the seeds and the dirt material. Are they able to see that slide? Okay. I want them to see the diagram. Quickly, you have gone there. Okay. See here. Removed in this process, the seeds are removed, the fibers are pressed into bales. That is the outcome, the last. Okay, all the dirt that is removed is called as the lint. And the whatever is the byproduct, that is also not waste, that is used for the production of oil and soaps. Can you go to the other notes that you showed me, ginning? Yes, see here, what are the processes that are involved in ginning, because they are specifically asking about process in the UGC questions. Are you able to see this, ma?
Yes, ma'am.
No, Shaza, on ginning. It was correct only, no? Ginning. See here, separation. The machine separates the cotton fibers, cleaning, and then bale formation, right? After the ginning, can I come to this? Yes. See here, you have the opening and the picking. Opening refers to the opening of the bale, okay? And then what does the picking machine do? It loosens out all the fibers. And then you have the next process, which is called as carding. So what does in the process of carding? Carding is generally a straightening process, aligning of fibers. Okay. And then you have the combing. If you want to make your cotton yarn finer, then you should separate the longer fibers from the shorter fibers. Okay. This additional straightening process is called as combing. And then you have slivering. Once you form these tufts, you put all the strands together in the form of a cluster of fibers, that is called as sliver, and this process is called as slivering. I have no time to go through the entire process. Then you have what is called as drawing. These slivers are being pulled out using rollers. That process is called as drawing. The reason is you want to thin out the fibers. Okay. Then after thinning out the fibers, you make them into a loose formation of yarns, and that loose formation of yarn is called as a roving. And then you have the next process, which is called as the spinning. All these rovings are put together and wound into a yarn by inserting a twist. Okay, as I told you, the twist can be two different types. One is called as the S twist, the other is called as the Z twist. S twist, when you see the twist itself, will resemble the shape S, and Z twist, when you see the twist, you will find that it is in this form. Okay, that is a Z twist. And then finally you weave. So the reason why I showed you the stages is the question is asked that way. Can you go to those notes quickly? Yes. See, wait. So after the ginning, you have the spinning process. I told you about opening and carding. Opening, the bales are opened, fibers are loosened. Carding, straightening process, drawing and roving. Then you have spinning, right? After that is the next stage is happens to be weaving. Likewise, you have the manufacturing of other staple fibers also. Like for example, jute. Jute also, mostly everything will be the same, but you have an additional process which is called as retting. Okay, because jute happens to be extracted from the stem of a plant. So what you do is this stem is allowed to be in water for many days, so that the outer particle degrades. That process is called as retting. So each manufacturer of every textile fiber, you please go through. I do not have time to go through everything, so I just chose cotton, right? So we are going to the weaving. As I told you, after the yarn, it gets converted into fabric by a process which is called as weaving. So we will also do little bit in depth, we will do on weaving. Next slide on weaving. You have on weaving, no? Loom. Yeah, loom. Yes. So loom, quickly to tell you what is a loom. Why all these ads? They'll be able to see the ads also, is it? Okay. Okay. Loom is a machine or device which is used to produce a woven fabric. Okay. It is a central point of whole process of cloth production. When I say central point, I told you there are various methods of construction of a cloth or a fabric. Major method happens to be weaving. Okay. Another method, secondary method happens to be knitting. Then there are other methods like non-wovens and things like that. It is a device used to weave cloth. The basic purpose of any loom is to hold the warp threads. Warp threads, do you know the warp threads and weft threads? At least those two basic things, do you know? In the fabric, the lengthwise threads, okay, that which run vertically are called as the warp yarns. The crosswise threads, that which run, uh, horizontally, are called as the weft yarns, right? So it is the inter mingling or the entangling of the warp and the weft which gives you the production of cloth, right? These are the different types of looms. I don't think we need to go just to have a view. This used to be the primitive loom. Then the pit loom. What weavers? Yeah, what happened? Why? This is the pit loom. Okay, wherein the weaver, makes a kind of an opening in the on the ground, and he puts his legs inside, and this is the loom. Okay, and next to that you have the spindle which carries the weft yarns. I will also show you. This is the frame loom, a small loom where we can actually imitate how weaving is done. Okay, these are very important things. What are the primary motions of a loom? Very, very important. This is, before I go on to this, I just want to tell you what are the various parts of the loom. Okay, this is a kind of a line diagram of the various parts of the loom. As such, if you see the loom, it looks very different because it's a line diagram. What happens is, will they be able to see this arrow, what I'm moving? Yes. Okay, so you have the warp beam here. Okay, this is the entire length of the loom. Okay, so one end of the loom you have the warp beam, the other end you have the cloth beam. The warp beam supplies the warp threads. The warp threads go on to be manufactured into the fabric. Once the fabric is made, the fabric is wound on the cloth beam. Okay, so this is the setup. So this is how the warp is let out over here, and this is a process is called as the shed, wherein the weft yarns are intermingled or inserted, right? You see here, insert the weft, they are inserted, and you form the fabric. Actually speaking, I should explain to you what a heddle is, what a shaft is. I'm sorry, do not have the time. If I'm able to show you a video of the manufacture of the weave, I'll show you. Okay, so once the warp yarn is let out over here in the shed, what happens is the weft is inserted. After the weft is inserted, you have something which is called as a reed. That reed makes the intertwining compact, makes it into a compact fabric, and the fabric is formed, it is wound on the cloth beam. Okay, so these are some of the basic parts of the loom. Coming to the motions of the loom, the primary, secondary, and the tertiary motion. What are the primary motion? Primary motion is called as three types: shedding, picking, and beating. Okay, so over here, when you come to this diagram, this is the shedding, wherein the warp yarns are supplied, the weft yarns are inserted in this place. This is the shedding. Shedding happens here, and then you have the second motion, which is called as picking. Uh, Picking is nothing but insertion of the weft. Okay, and then the third step happens to be beating. That is the pushing of the reed to make the fabric formation compact. Okay, those are the three primary motions. I'll try to run a video so that you can understand. Coming to the secondary motions are take up and let off. Okay, this take up motion is this, wherein the fabric is made and the cloth beam takes up the fabric. See here, take the fabric off. Okay, and let off is the warp beam lets the warp yarn. That is the let off motion. Those are the secondary motions. Then coming to the tertiary motions, warp stop, weft stop, and the reed stop. These are not very important, so I have not seen any questions also asked on that, so you can forget about the tertiary motions. Then coming to, please understand these terms: what drafting is, what drawing is, and what denting is. Okay, the process of passing yarn through the drop wire is called as drafting. So here, okay, passing the yarn through this, can you see here, this is called as a heddle. Okay, this is the eye of the heddle. Passing of the warp yarn through this heddle is called as drafting, and then drawing. The process of passing yarn through the heel die is called as, till this stage is drafting. From when it comes out, that process is called as drawing. And denting, the process of passing yarn through the reed is called as denting. Once the formation happens, the reed makes it compact. That process is called as the denting. Those are the three primary motions of the loom. This happens to be the manufacture of weaving. Then there are other various steps also. I will tell you that. Just a minute. Shaza, come from that side. Those points. Those points. Yes. Wait. Weaving. All this over. Weaving. So this point, I wanted you to understand. Wait, they will not be able to see. Show the point. Till then, yes. How is it that they saw those points earlier? They were not able to see that also, is it? Can you see this heading? Weaving. Okay. This terminology, I want you to please note it down, what warping is. Okay. What is warping? It's a preparation of the warp. The yarn is wound onto a large beam, creating the warp. I showed you what the warp beam is. Okay. The process of winding of the warp yarns on this warp beam is called as warping. And then these warp yarns are sized. Okay. What when Do you know what a sizing agent is? Sizing agent is a starching agent. Okay, size can also be called as a starch. So adding sizing agents, yarns are treated with sizing agents to improve their strength and to reduce friction while weaving. What I showed you the diagram wherein, see here, where I told you the entire warp yarns are stretched from one end of the loom to the other end, to the other end. Okay, so what happens is these warp yarns are stretched, they are extended to the full length. So if the warp yarn doesn't have enough strength, it will break. So in order to withstand that stress, okay, the warp yarns are starched or sized. That process is called as sizing. Yarns are treated with sizing agents to improve their strength and to reduce friction during weaving. The entire warp beam itself is sometimes put into the size and it is starched, right? Then coming to weaving, we studied the various things. The looms, yarns are interlaced at right angles. This I forgot to tell you. The interlacement of the warp yarns and the weft yarns at right angles creates the woven fabric. Okay. Then fabric formation. The woven fabric is produced in rolls. How is it that is produced in rolls? Because once the woven fabric is formed over here, it is wound on cloth beam. That cloth beam itself is a roll, right? Then we will go on to the next unit quickly. The next unit finishes. So, but before finishes, knitting. Quickly, quickly on knitting. Non-wovens are there. Coming to knitting. You had that slide share, no, on knitting. Please give me a minute. I'll just stop sharing the screen for a minute. Knitting. Might mute करो rather. Yes. Can you see the screen? Types of knitting?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So, what is knitting? As I told you, it's one more method of construction. Knitting is a method by which thread or yarn may be turned into a cloth or other fine crafts by interlooping. In the case of weaving, it is interlacing. Here, it is interlooping. Okay. Knitted fabric consists of consecutive loops called stitches. You all know, you must have seen at any stage, people doing knitting by hand. You see the loops. Okay. So types of knitting, you have two types of knitting. You have weft knitting and warp knitting. Examples are also there. I'll tell you what weft knitting are. Weft knits are constructed from one yarn that is fed into a knitting machine needle in a horizontal direction. Okay, and weft yarns are also called as filling yarns. Please make a note of this point. Okay, weft yarns are also called as filling yarns. So weft knits are constructed from one yarn that is fed into knitting machine needles in a horizontal direction, also called as filling. And coming to warp knit fabrics are constructed with yarn loops formed in a vertical or a warp direction, right? So these are examples of weft knitting and warp knitting. One more, these are important points. These are, okay, examples of weft knitting: single jersey, pearl stitch, rib stitch, interlock stitch. Warp knitting examples are tricot knits, rachel knits, Milanese, and stitch bonding. Okay, I do not want to go into detail of what weft knitting is. Okay, quickly, if you just want me to skim through that. What happened? Okay. Rather than that, I'll just give you an explanation of some of the terminologies. Are they able to see the screen also? Are they able to see the screen? Please show them this. Yes, this one. Warp knitting. Yes. Okay. Can you see these types of knitting? Okay. Girls, are you able to see?
Yes, ma'am.
Girls, yes, flat knitting. Okay, please understand what flat knitting is. In flat knitting, the fabric is produced in flat panels, often back and forth in rows. The machinery that is involved is, all the needles will be arranged in a straight line in the case of flat knitting. Okay, mostly the knitting machines that we see are flat knitted machines. They emulate the hand knitting method. What happened? Where did it go? Yes, they emulate the hand knitting method. Applications commonly used for items like scarves, blankets, and so on. Then coming to circular knitting, a circular knitting creates a seamless tube of fabric. Very important. Okay, allowing for continuous production. Examples are like cardigans, and things like that. Circular knitting machines have needles arranged in a circular configuration used for producing garments like socks. You all know socks, you don't see a seam in a socks, just circular. Okay, sometimes t-shirts also you will not see a seam. Circular t-shirts or cardigans, or seamless tube tops and things like that. And then coming to warp knitting, I told you exactly what warp knitting is earlier. In warp knitting, each needle operates independently, allowing it to form a more complex fabric structure. The machineries employs warp knitting machines with needles moving individually in the warp direction. I told you what type of knitting is done in warp knitting. It's used for lingerie. I hope you all know what the term lingerie means. Lingerie is intimate wear. Okay, that is inner wear. It is not pronounced as lingerie. It's a French word. It's called as lingerie, right? Applications for warp knitting are lingerie, sportswear, and also technical textiles because they give lot of strength. So this point you have to note, warp knitting gives strength and stability. Okay, you might be asked questions on this. Then coming to weft knitting involves a single yarn running in the horizontal direction to create loops. Machinery weft knitting machines have needles moving horizontally, forming loops across the fabric. Applications commonly used for items like t-shirts, sweaters, and hosiery. Hosiery also means, socks and things like that. Then double jersey knitting. Here, double jersey knitting produces a fabric with two interlocking sets of loops on both the sides. Okay, it's exactly like one knitted cloth in the front and one at the back. It requires two needle beds, and it can create fabrics with reversible patterns. And it will be a thicker fabric because it is like two knitted fabrics together. That's about knitting. Then I quickly want to go on to manufacture of non-wovens also. Non-wovens. Quickly. No time. So from the term, when I say non-wovens itself, it means that fabrics which are not woven. Okay, then how is it that they are produced? Non-wovens are produced by bonding or interlocking fibers without the need of traditional weaving or knitting. Okay, this is what is the definition of non-wovens. Non-wovens are produced by bonding and interlocking fibers without the need for traditional weaving or knitting. The manufacturing process involves several methods. Some terms I've tried to lay down terminology so that if any questions are asked, you will be able to write them, inshallah. Dry laid process. What is a dry laid process? Dry laid non-wovens are made by arranging fibers on a conveyor belt. Non-wovens, actually how they are formed is you make layers, okay, or a film of fibers. These film of fibers are attached, each film is attached by bonding. There can be different types of bonding. Sometimes you use a gum, sometimes you use resin, sometimes you use pressure, sometimes you use heat to bond these layers of fabric. That is what is called as non-wovens. In non-wovens, what is the dry laid process? Dry laid non-wovens are made by arranging fibers on a conveyor belt or forming a web by air or carding. And how is it that they are bonded? Fibers are bonded using heat, pressure, or adhesive. Applications commonly use products like wipes, okay, all the sanitizing wipes that we use, medical gowns, and geotextiles. Because the word geotextiles is mentioned over here, let me tell you what geotextiles are. Geotextiles is one type of technical textiles which come in close association with sand. Okay, so geotextiles which come in close connection with the sand, with the laying of sand, like for example, laying of roads, laying of canals, laying of bridges, to prevent soil erosion, to help in drainage. Those textiles, the application of such textiles, they are called as geotextiles. Coming to the wet laid process, in wet laids non-wovens, fibers are suspended in a water based solution and then formed into a web. As I told you, non-wovens itself is making sheets of fibers. These sheets of fibers are called as webs, and these webs are bonded together by various methods. Okay, so wet laid process and wet laid non-wovens, fibers are suspended in a water based solution and formed into a web. Then bonding can occur through mechanical processes or the addition of binders. Applications use products like wet wipes, filter media, and battery separators. Then you coming to the spun bond process. In spun bond non-wovens, they are created by extruding molten polymers. So that means this is specially for synthetic fibers. Molten polymers through spinnerets. I told you what spinneret is, forming continuous filaments. The filaments are then laid onto a conveyor belt and bonded using heat and pressure. I told you there are various methods of bonding. In this case, it is bonding is done by heat and pressure. commonly found in products like disposable diapers, sanitary pads, that is not mentioned over here, sanitary napkins, surgical gowns, agricultural covers, and so on. And then you have the melt blown process. Melt blown non-wovens are produced by extruding molten polymer through fine nozzles. Okay, because of these fine nozzles, you get fabrics which are called as microfibers, which are really thin. The microfibers are collected on a conveyor belt and bonded by heat or adhesives. Applications used for air and liquid infiltration, liquid filtration, face masks, and oil sorbents. So you can understand face mask, how thin it will be. They are used by microfibers. And these days, in most of the cosmetics, also you get all these microfiber particles. Okay. Then coming to needle punching, one important method of manufacture of non-wovens. Needle punching involves mechanically reinforcing a fine web by repeatedly punching it with barbed needles. What you do is, after you manufacture these webs or sheets of fibers, all the sheets are laid together and you have barbed needles. When you say barbed, that means a kind of a projection. This needle goes through these layers. Okay, fast, it goes through layers many a times, and that is how bonding happens. Needle punching involves mechanically reinforcing a fiber web by repeatedly punching it with barbed needles. Fibers entangle. Because of this, the outcome is the fibers entangle and interlock through the needle punching process. Applications commonly used for automotive carpets, geotextiles, and insulation. Actually, this happens to be a very vast topic. I don't know if I must have done justice to this topic or not. Because of the lack of time, I'm just trying to cover everything. Okay, I think I've come to 6:30, but please, if you can give me some extension, I'll also finish some notes on textile finishing. I mean, some small lecture on textile finishing. Can I do that, Meena? Or I have to
Yes,
stick
ma'am.
to the time?
Kindly continue.
I can continue?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. Textile finishes. This PPT happens to be a long one, but I might not take everything. Yes, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. Are they able to see the screen? Yes. Yes. Can you see textile finishing on your screen?
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
So textile finishing is a process used in the manufacture of fiber, fabric, or clothing at any stage to impart what? To impart the required functional properties. Why are you going down? Why are you going down? Enough. Okay. To impart the required functional properties, whatever is the required function, okay, or what you desired function, you can impart that kind of finish. It is customary to subject the material to different type of physical and chemical treatment. It can be itself can be classified into mechanical finishes, chemical finishes, and enzyme finishes. Okay. So coming to, so these are names of some of the finishes: calendering, stentering, decanting, beetling, glazing, shrinnerizing, embossing, moiring, searing, raising, napping, gigging, shearing, waterproofing, water repellency, sanforizing, wash and warp, fireproofing, crepe and crinkle defect. I might not be able to take everything quickly. I'll just try to go through at least the basic finishes. Okay, these are some of the basic finish. And calendering happens to be a mechanical finish because you use rollers for this. Okay, calendering of textile is a finishing used to make the fabric smooth or to thin the material. With textile, fabric is passed between calender rollers. Okay, you have two, if you can see the rollers, see, one roller in close contact with the other. The fabric is allowed to pass through these rollers, is pulled through these rollers. Because of this, it smoothens out. Okay, that process is called as calendering. Usually, cotton fibers, cotton is given this kind of a calendering finish if you want to have a very smooth and a shiny finish. Okay, calendering is a finishing process used on cloth. It can be used on paper or plastic film. A calendar is employed. Calendar is nothing but a roller, is employed usually to smooth or coat or thin the material. I do not have time to go through the objectives of it and all that preparation for calendering. I'll just quickly go through the advantages. Improved appearance, so it gives luster. As I told you, it gives shine, so it gives luster, it gives whiteness. So if you generally, if you see a nice white cotton material on the shelf of the shop, it means that it is calendared, and it's also mercerized. I'll tell you what mercerization means. Improved feel, which depends on the handle of the fabric. It improves the wearing qualities. It gives special properties like waterproofing and flame proofing also sometimes. And it covers the faults of the original cloth. There might be some weaving defects. Okay, the weaving defects are all covered by calendering. This can be an advantage or a disadvantage. It increases the weight of the fabric. It increases the sale value of the material. When it looks aesthetically good, naturally it increases the sale value. It increases the natural attractiveness and also the serviceability of the fabric. Because of the calendering, it is able to last longer. Okay, then coming to what is a stentering process. This is also a mechanical finish. Stentering is a mechanical finish done to textile. It is done for the stretching of fabric by the stenter machine. Usually, if you see the selvage of a fabric, do you know what is selvage of the fabric? The finished edge of the fabric. Okay, on the selvage of the fabric, you will see small holes. Okay, those small holes are because of the stenter machine. The fabric is held from one end to the other end on a stenter machine. That's how you have these small holes. So what, why is it stentering done? Stentering is done usually to, it's like a stretching process. It improves the bias. Sometimes, if it is cross or things like that, it improves the bias, and it also supports heating process. If you have to do any kind of finish wherein heating is applied, that is enabled by a stentering also. The functions of stentering machine: heat setting. Okay, width of the fabric is also controlled. Finishing chemical is applied by the stenter. And in the case of knitted fabrics, loop of the knit is also controlled, because it is the controlling of the width. GSM is also controlled. I think if I go through all that, then coming to stiffening. Stiffening is also called as starching or sizing. It is nothing but, the yarns or the fabric is sized or starched. Okay, one is to improve the strength and also to improve the appearance. If you have a nice starched fabric on the shelf of fabric, you'll buy. Something which is limp, you will not buy. Okay, that is called as stiffening or sizing. Decanting is a process applied to woolens, especially woolens and worsted or man-made fabrics. It involves the application of heat and pressure to set or develop luster, and also to improve the hand of the fabric. That is one kind of finish. Then coming to beetling, all these are mechanical finishes. Mechanical treatment that uses beetlers, or something like a beater, okay, or fallers, to give fabric surface a flattened appearance. You beat the fabric so that you have a flattened appearance. That is called as beetling. Then glazing is a textile finish. As the name suggests, it gives luster and smoothness. And then coming to what shrennerizing is. Shrennerizing on fabric produces a soft luster and hand by flattening the yarn and surface of fabric through calendering. Not only that, sometimes it can also, include a kind of line effect using a shrenner. If you want to have ridges or lines on the fabric, you can use this particular process, even in the case of knits also. Then coming to embossing is also, you can make a kind of a print on the fabric. When I say print, doesn't mean using color, but what do I say, some kind of a three-dimensional effect you can create using an embossing is a particular calendering process through which a simple pattern can be engraved on the cloth. Okay, not with the help of any color, but just like that a pattern is engraved. That is about embossing. And then moiring also, wherein you get a kind of a grain design on the fabric. Raising, it increases the surface of the fiber passage. Think if I go on to every fire textile. Napping is an important finish which is done usually to flannel, like for a, flannel cloth. Earlier, to you wipe the spectacles, we used to get a cloth with this kind of a napped fabric. Okay, this kind of finish is given by napping. And shearing, I quickly also want to go to, yes, these are special finishes which are called as waterproofing. Okay, Waterproofing is you do not allow water to pass through. There are two types of finishes in this. One is called as the water repellent finish, the other is called as the waterproofing finish. In water repellent, what happens is the fabric, after the finish is applied, the finish tries to prevent water from entering the fabric. Okay, repel means it pushes the water molecule away. That is called as water repellent, but it does not mean that it is 100% waterproof. Okay, if water falls at a pace, at a faster rate, then some amount of water can go through water repellent finish. That is about water repellent. Waterproofing, where you apply a film or coating which does not allow any water molecule to pass through. Okay, so if you have to give you an example, if you buy a raincoat which is much cheaper, you will see in heavy rain water will come inside. Okay, those are water repellent finishes. Waterproofing, some if you buy expensive raincoats, what amount of rain, even if it is heavy rain, water will not come inside. But one disadvantage of waterproofing fabric, it does not even allow air to pass through, so it is uncomfortable to wear for a long time. Water repellent, little bit of permeability of air is there. Okay, this is it's a chemical finish. Waterproofing, water repellency, I also told you what it is. Then crease resistant or crease proofing or wrinkle proofing, wrinkle resistant, whatever you call it, this is also a chemical finish or special finish wherein the fabric is called as permanent press fabrics. Okay, some time ago you had some trousers which are no iron trousers. You need not iron them, no iron shirts. Okay, they are wrinkle free. This is a chemical finish using, earlier they used to use formaldehyde, but formaldehyde is a toxic substance. These days it is not permitted to use formaldehyde. Still in certain areas it is being used, but non-formaldehyde substances are supposed to be used and given this type of wrinkle resistant finishes. Okay, I think most of the finishes I have covered. Yes, so can you go to that part of it? Yes. Is there anything on finishing I can elaborate on? Yes, that's it. Okay. Textile finishes I've already done. Yes. Dyeing and printing traditional textiles. I don't know. I don't have time. Can I go through some two question papers at least?
Yes, ma'am.
Meena, can I go through two question papers?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Question papers. Start from 2021 question paper. Yes. What I have done is I've taken a 2022 question paper. They can see the screen. Yes. Are you able to see the screen? October 2022.
Yes,
Yes,
Short.
ma'am, we
ma'am.
can able to see.
What I have done is I've just highlighted the textile related questions over here. Actually, this part, all this comes under apparel designing, but I'm trying to answer the questions here. In a pattern, darts can be replaced by. Okay. If I have to say what darts are, darts is a triangular fold of fabric, okay, incorporated in any blouse or any garment so that you can reduce the fullness of the area. So I have noted that this is a repeated question. It is asked in three question papers at least. Darts can be replaced by one is gathers. If you do not want to put a dart to adjust the fullness, what you can do is you can introduce small gathers, and actually speaking you can also introduce tucks. But the answers in which it given, it says control the seam. That is also one method of replacing the darts. but this is just a trial and error method, because the answers, what they are doing is they are not just leaving the answers, you answer 1, 2, 3, or 4. They are giving you codes. Is it 1 and 2? You want my phone, no? Okay. Okay, what they are doing is they are giving 1 and 2, so that means tucks and gathers. It also they are giving it as 2, which is gather and style line. Style line is definitely not the answer. So how you have to answer is that which is not there, first you remove that. Okay, style line is never in that particular category, so you remove that style line. Anything that has to do with style line, you remove that. Apart from that, you think and you answer the other two questions. The reason why I'm telling is, in one paper the answer is given as tux and gather, another paper the answer is given as gather and control seam. So I don't know on what basis that is. Okay, and then this 2022 has very less of textile questions, but because this is a recent one, I wanted to go through this. See here, which of the following methods of printing are currently practiced largely in the Indian textile industry? Here also, this is also a repeated question asked in 2012 also. But in that, the question, the answer given is screen printing, digital printing, and block printing. So when I went through the answers, I was wondering why is it that roller printing is left out? Because in India, roller printing is carried out largely. In this 2022 question paper, the answer given is screen printing, roller printing, and block printing. I feel this should be the correct answer because digital printing is only on the rise now. Okay, so you have to logically analyze and then answer the questions over here. This is one type of question which you are getting everywhere, and this is also a repeated question. 2012, the same question is asked. Match the fashion terms given in list 1 with their meanings given in list 2. Classic means, something which lasts through ages. If you do not understand anything, any particular term, please immediately don't leave off that question. Now here you have to fit in actually 4 different terms. So try to fit in. I think all this strategy you must be knowing as students you are going to appear for UGC exam. Okay, so what you do is try to fit in all the 3 answers. The 4th one will automatically fit in. I hope this is nothing rocket science. You will understand on your own. Classic lasts through ages. Fad is a short-lived fashion. Okay, short-lived craze. Haute couture means exclusive custom-fitted clothing. It is pronounced as haute, Haute. That E is missing. Okay, haute couture, and then prêt-à-porter. See, this is spelling mistake. It is PRETA-PORTER. That means ready to wear. Okay, just a repeated question copied from somewhere. So you have to see the pattern. For classic, this is the answer 3. So see here 3. For second one B, this is the answer 4. 3, 4, and for haute couture 1. 3, 4, 1 and 2. For pret-a-porter, ready to wear. That is how you have to mark. Just one pattern I'm trying to tell you. And very few questions in 2022. See here, this is what I told you. Please go through, give the correct sequence in the processing of textiles. Okay, out of all these finishing process, what you do first for the textile fibers? The second one is the correct answer, wherein you first do singeing. Okay, singeing or centering both mean the same. I told you about the centering process. Then you do desizing. That is, what you do is the warp yarns, you're starching the warp yarns. Okay, most of the starch will remain on the yarns. If you have the starch, further finishing will be difficult. So what you do is some of the starch is removed. That process is called a desizing. Size is the starch. Desizing means removal of starch. Okay, so 4, 5 singeing, desizing. Number 3 is covering. Covering is actually cleaning. Okay, removal of dirt particles is called as covering. And then number 1, bleaching. You give a kind of whiteness to the fabric, and then you do mercerization. I think I did not deal with this when I was talking about mercerization. Finishing mercerization happens to be a very important finish where you apply, please note this down, where you use sodium hydroxide, also called as caustic soda. Okay, on cotton, usually on cotton or other cellulosic fibers, wherein you impart a kind of a shine to the textile fiber, and you also improve the strength of the textile fiber, and you also improve the affinity of the dyes. Mercerization is an important finish which is done usually to cotton. Okay. Then another question is, see here. This is a very long question. I don't want to waste time on this. Look at the way the question is asked. Give the correct sequence of Kanil shawl weaving. Actually, in the syllabus, what is mentioned is only traditional embroideries, wherein shawls also come, but it does not specify anything about Kanil shawl. But they are asking questions like that. Okay, so you can go through the answer and you can understand the sequence. This is. I think with 2022, only so many textile questions. The rest were all less questions. Can you give me the 2020 question paper? 2020. Are you able to see the screen? Yes. Are you able to see the June 2020 question paper?
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
Yes. See
Yes,
here,
ma'am.
eighth question. Which of the following instruments, actually, this is under the unit of textile testing, which I was not able to cover. Probably, if I'm given another session, I will be able to cover. Which of the following instruments used for the estimation of color values? The answer is spectrophotometer. Okay. Then the applique work. You can also find out what are the answers from the key which is already given. If I have to give you any explanation, I'll give it to you. See here, this question, in which of the following place war picket is not produced? Please read the question properly. If you say war picket is produced, it means that it is produced in Patan. Okay, is not produced, the answer is Surat. Right? Which of the following is the most lustrous weave? Satin. Satin is different from satin. Okay, please understand that there's no spell mistake. Satin is satin. Saten is one kind of weave which has longer pile. Because of that, it has lot of shine. Then which of the following is the primary property? See, this I dealt with. Which of the, can you tell me? Because I took this topic, can you tell me which of the following is the primary property of a fiber? A, B, C, D. Which one? Can anyone tell me? Quickly. Cohesiveness. All others, density, luster, resiliency, they are secondary properties. See here this question. Which of the following is not a dart equivalent? Okay. The same question what we saw over there, just the question is turned. Then starch paste is used in removing which of the following stains? The answer is iodine. So that means even stain removal is also asked. Sometimes they are not sticking to the syllabus. You just have to hope that the question paper sticks to the syllabus. Okay. Then this is on apparel designing. Which of the following pockets come under the category of slashed pockets? Actually, slashed pocket, kangaroo is not a slashed pocket. This is again a mistake. Okay. It is not a falp, it is a welt. It is a flap also, flap, and bound. Okay, these are the three slashed pockets. And then which of the following are distinct styles in Kathiawar embroidery? Please learn the different embroidery styles. Moti Bharat, Abla Bharat, Sindhi Taropa. The answer. Chalak Tiki is not the answer. Okay. And then this also I have seen the machine parts. Mostly they are asking you questions. Which of the following parts of the machine needle fit into the needle bar? These are the different parts of the needle. Okay, the shank and the butt, all the four are the parts of the needle, but these are the two things which fit into the needle bar. I know it's difficult, but still. Which of the following properties are imparted in a fabric by nanotechnology? If you see this answer, I think just an asterisk is given because all the four can be imparted by nanotechnology. I do not know how they rate this type of questions, whether they give the answer, give the mark to the student or not. I don't know. Okay, if you see the answers, it's written as an asterisk. So it means the answer, the question is wrong. But if you see the answer, all four are right. Okay, all the four options are right. And then which of the following fibers can be confirmed by their microscopic appearance. Here again, everything, if you look under the microscope, everything has a different appearance. All five can be confirmed by microscopic appearance. I don't know why such a question is there wherein you have this option A, B, and C only. I'm really surprised, because when we all wrote UGC, it was not this kind of pattern. And yes, this also, this is a very, see here, match with the list. Shiny textures, it will make the person appear larger. This is to do with figure irregularities. Okay. Dull textures will make, do not enlarge the body and are suitable for all body types. Soft and clingy fabrics, we know all these things. If you wear clingy fabrics, what happens? In the case of this one, it reveals body irregularities. Something that sticks to the body reveals body irregularities, and stiff and bulky fabrics, they hide body irregularities. Okay. It depends on person to person what kind of body they have, whether they want to wear bulky fabrics or they want to wear clingy fabrics. Then see here, here, correct sequence of apparel production industry. So most of the questions are asked on sequence. So what you have to do is, manufacturing of fibers, what is the sequence? In the case of manufacturing of application of textile finish, what is the sequence? In apparel production, what is the sequence? Please go through that. Okay, that is what I found out. And here also, see, give the correct sequence of manufacturing of acrylic fiber. Specifically, they are asking acrylic fiber. And then I think that's it. Probably just am I think I've taken half an hour extra. Is that okay, Meena? Are you able to hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Is it
Yes, ma'am.
okay? If
Yes, ma'am.
time permits, if
Students.
you give me another session off the record, also, I'll be happy, more than happy to complete the
Ma'am, if
entire.
another session is possible, it'll be good, ma'am.
Yes, I'm ready to do it as far as the organizers are able to, arrange anytime, even if it's not part of this particular program. Just close. Yeah, stop sharing the screen. Sometime later, also, if you want me to do it, Meena, I'm more than happy.
Yes, ma'am. Due to time
Okay.
lack and schedule time is actually today, one day is not enough. In two
Yes,
hours, you
yes.
have covered this 2 years textile syllabus, ma'am. So it's too tedious for you. Actually, we strained you to take
No, no, no,
in one
no.
day.
That
Due
is
to the
okay.
time strain and 9 days program is going on, we'll see to that, ma'am. And
You see, if
thanks a lot
you
for
can give me
sharing.
a session, I'll be more than happy. I'm very sorry if I was not able to to do justice. I was not able to go slow on certain things. I had to rush up. I hope I managed to do a good job.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Okay.
of course, ma'am. All the points, whatever you have shared, the important topics, actually, the students and some faculties are also there. Those
Okay.
very much attentive and eager to know what's there in that textiles, because textile is a subject, all technical terms. Usually,
Yes.
they used to ask in the UGC-NET exam.
Yes.
And
Yes.
one more candidate asked here, nano textiles and technical textiles.
Yes. Yes.
Any, uh, can you
Actually,
brief
I
it?
have some important terminologies for that. I can share the
Okay.
notes with you.
Yes, ma'am.
And if given another session, also the remaining, that is the apparel designing part, and definitely the nano textiles and the technical textiles part of it, I'll be more than happy to do it, because my
Okay.
specialization itself is technical textiles.
Oh,
I've been
super,
handling
ma'am.
technical textiles over over a period of 15 years.
Mm-hmm. Mm, super, ma'am. Mm. Okay.
That's it. Can we wind up the session?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Aisha, are you there? So this is a
Yes, ma'am.
phenomenal presentation you delivered to our UGC aspirant students, ma'am. So
Thank you.
your
Thank you
session on
so much.
textiles is so inspiring and incredibly motivating all the students. The way you effortlessly conveyed complex concepts made them not only understandable but also deeply engaging.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you
for
so much.
generously sharing your expertise. If you are sharing the notes also, I will definitely share in the group of the candidates, ma'am.
Sure, sure. I'll do that. I'll try to share the entire syllabus actually.
Yes, thanks a lot, ma'am. Now I would
Ma'am?
like to post the feedback link here and
Yeah,
also,
kindly wait for a few minutes, please,
yes, yes.
participants.
I can see in the picture Nadia. Nadia is my student.
Yes, ma'am, of course.
Okay.
She's also our college student, MSc.
Okay.
Good evening,
Okay.
ma'am.
Yes.
Okay, doing
How are
good.
you, Nadia?
Good, ma'am. I'm doing good.
You're teaching there. You're teaching in SKPC.
No, no, ma'am. I completed my MSc there.
Okay. Okay. So you're a UGC aspirant.
Yes, ma'am. I've been trying to pass it out. However, so this year I have to clear it up.
Inshallah, inshallah. Any help
Inshallah.
with the notes? I actually wanted to share some textbooks also, Beena. Some references. I'll share that along with the notes so that they can get a copy of that particular book.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you. And every day we plan to post on Google form related to the questions of UGC. 10 years of
Dear
question bank
participants,
we have. Yes, Aisha.
sorry for interrupting, ma'am. I have posted the Google form. Kindly, all the dear participants, kindly fill the feedback form. So on behalf of our department, I thank you with from a below from the bottom of my heart to Shayestha Fathima ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am, for spending so much time with our participants
It
and
is an
extend your.
honor, honor for me.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So, ma'am, Meena, ma'am, I posted the link, ma'am.
Okay, Aisha. Okay. Thank you all participants and thank you, ma'am. Today's session we will wind up and tomorrow let's see. Thank you.
All the best to all the aspirants. I'll try to share as much notes as possible. See to it that you study from the nook and corner